Welcome to Amir Shakil 5858, the War and Love Report. I am Amir Goodname. Maui wildfires, Hawaii. The latest on the scorching wildfire is still burning in Maui. As the governor says, the death toll has risen. Some residents are now returning to parts of West Maui to sift through the rubble for their belongings. Meanwhile, the pictures from above show the scale of the ruin, with block after block reduced to ash and the burnt out wreckage of the business district. Shows how quickly the flames overtook that community. One point, drivers were forced to abandon their vehicles as they sat in bumper to bumper traffic in a desperate bid to escape. The Mai War Memorial Gymnasium has been set up as one of the many shelters across the island for evacuees who have lost everything. Volunteers are handing out food, water, and diapers and other much needed supplies. And thousands are stranded at the airport as they try to escape the chaos. Now we will look at every angle of this tragedy. A reporter walked more than 2 miles from historic Front Street and he didn't recall seeing a building that wasn't damaged. Tonight, officials confirming the number of dead has grown to 67. Many of them were desperately trying to flee on foot. There was panic, and now tonight a mounting question: why was not this town evacuated sooner? Video shows the absolute chaos as flames ravaged Lahaina Tuesday night. In the aftermath, the devastation coming into sharper focus, especially striking the line of burnout cars, a haunting landscape frozen by fire. Residents flocked to the streets in their cars, and there was a traffic jam on the street. Car after car were burnt. Many of the drivers of these cars got out and jumped into the water, rather ocean, to save their lives. But with a death toll now in the dozens and so many still unaccounted for, the agony of the people is growing. A survivor says he's looking for his friends and family but couldn't find them. He said it was so sudden, there was no warning sirens, no time to prepare. We did not get an evacuation. We just kind of just figured it out on our own when the neighbor next to us was completely engulfed black smoke. We could not even see anything, another survivor said. The fire spread very fast. The wind was blowing at the speed of 100 miles per hour. Houses were made of wood, so they got fire very quickly. In the morning, a full-scale mobilization is underway. Airlifting vehicle supplies and National Guard troops. Some residents are pitching in to help first responders. One survivor said people lost cars, homes, furniture, everything. The only thing there is left is the clothes which they are wearing right now. The whole town looked like a ghost town. One rescuer commented it will take many years before the community rebuilds again, and trauma will be with them. Authorities have making or setting up emergency shelters until more permanent housing can be made available. More than 2,100 people are staying at 6 emergency shelters across the island. Ikulu, Braden, Hopali will spend another night sleeping. federal judge in Washington overseeing the election conspiracy case against former President Donald Trump, warned that his right to free speech is, quote, not absolute. U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan agreed to a limited protected order banning Mr. Trump from publicly disclosing sensitive evidence in the case. She said that will help protect witnesses and prevent interference in the trial. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried is in a New York jail tonight. A judge revoked the disgraced cryptocurrency mogul's bail for allegedly tampering with witnesses at least twice in the run-up to his October trial. The 31-year-old has been charged with orchestrating one of the largest financial frauds in U.S. history. He had been under house arrest at his parents' home in California. In Syria, Islamic State gunmen ambushed a bus carrying Syrian soldiers overnight, killing at least 20 people. It happened in the eastern town of Mayadin, which is split in control between Syrian troops and Kurdish fighters. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said ISIS has ramped up attacks in recent months in areas it once controlled. Russia and Ukraine exchanged a fresh wave of aerial attacks today. In Kyiv, Ukrainian air defenses shot down a Russian missile that broke up and landed near a children's hospital. No casualties were reported. Meanwhile, Russia said it intercepted a Ukrainian drone on the western outskirts of Moscow. A blurry video caught the moment of impact as it startled witnesses nearby. A witness said that her heart is still pounding. She was going to work when a forceful explosion happened. The tarmac shook. The shockwave was so strong that it almost blew my clothes off. She was shocked. She dug down, looked up, and saw an enormous explosion. President Zelensky announced he is firing the directors of all of Ukraine's regional army recruitment centers to crack down on corruption. The country's security services recently revealed more than 100 criminal cases had been opened against recruitment officials suspected of taking bribes. The UN announced it has finished transferring more than 1 million barrels of oil from an aging tanker near Yemen. The ship is moored off the war-torn country's Red Sea coast. Last month, an international team began pumping the oil to another ship amid warnings that the decaying vessel could leak or explode and cause a massive environmental catastrophe. England is facing a medical crisis. Tens of thousands of early career doctors have walked off the job again in a fifth round of strikes. They are demanding a 35% pay hike, which they say will restore their salaries back to 2008 levels. But the government is offering only 6%. The National Health Service says the strikes could cost them more than $1 billion. By the time doctors resume work next Tuesday, on Wall Street, stocks were mixed today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 105 points. The Nasdaq fell 76 points, and S&P slipped 5. Today, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss as a special counsel in the Biden matter. This new status means Weiss is not subject to day-to-day supervision by Justice Department leaders. It appears the case may now be headed to trial. U.S. Attorney General said that the appointment confirms his commitment to provide Mr. Weiss all the resources he requests. Attorney General said David Weiss himself asked for special counsel status after leading the criminal probe into the president's son, Hunter Biden, since 2018. The appointment of Mr. Weiss reinforces for the American people the Justice Department's commitment to both independence and accountability, and particularly sensitive matters. But the timings matter. 2 weeks ago, in a Delaware court, a plea for 2 misdemeanor tax charges and a felony gun offense fell apart over whether the president's son could avoid future criminal charges. Weiss told Congress in July he had not requested special counsel status. He has not publicly stated why he changed his mind, but on Friday, in a federal court filing, Weiss said the plea negotiations with Hunter Biden were at an impasse, and the government now believes that the case will not resolve short of a trial. Special counsel says he thinks the special counsel's greatest enhanced power, or as a result of today's order, is that he just has much more independence to pursue charges against Hunter Biden. Is that he just has much more independence to pursue charges against Hunter Biden. The IRS whistleblower recently told the evidence supported more serious felony tax charges. It's a matter of, are we treating everyone the same? And in this case, I don't think so. Hunter Biden's attorney said, we expect a fair resolution, not affected by politics. Now, news from Europe. There is climate change is happening. Different things are taking place, and Ukraine
in southwestern Hungary, the Drava and Mura rivers are breaking records. At the confluence of the two rivers at Ertilos, water levels were 17 centimeters higher than previous records set in 1972.
Egy hosszú, nagyon-nagyon lassan apadó árvízre számítunk.
Most of the flooding happened in agricultural areas, but extra help was needed in some settlements, with tens of thousands of sandbags used for protection. One woman on the bridge to Croatia who could remember 1972 was skeptical about the new record. In the Drava catchment basin, a month and a half's worth of rain fell over a weekend. The situation's under control.
Now again, regarding Maui wildfire, Hawaii. Let's hear a discussion between Amna Nawaz of PBS NewsHour and a local reporter from Honolulu.
Thanks for joining us. The images and the stories just seem to get more and more horrifying by the day. You have a number of reporters fanned out covering this. Tell us, what kinds of stories are they hearing from folks on the ground?
Well, the grief has just been overwhelming, as you can imagine. I mean, Maui, although it's a separate island from Oahu and the others, we have all been there. We all have family and friends on the various islands. One of Civil Beat's own reporters, Marina Riker, she had to evacuate along with her husband at 1 o'clock in the morning that Tuesday. Her rental unit was destroyed. Fortunately, she and her husband are safe now. But everyone in the state has been touched by this terrible tragedy. The video speaks for itself. It's a war zone. It's an apocalypse.
What about what you're hearing from authorities right now? Do you have a sense that they have a full picture of the damage and the loss yet?
No, we don't know that right now. Certainly not a dollar figure placed on that. We do know that at least 1,700 structures have been destroyed. There's at least 1,000 people unaccounted for. Hopefully, we will learn more about that. You heard the governor early. It's very likely that those casualties, those fatalities, are going to increase from 55 and up. Right now, we're not getting much more information. The focus for the emergency people has been recovery, getting people to safety, making sure those fires are contained.
I understand you've been trying to get some more information, though. We just heard my colleague Stephanie Sy report on that warning system that never seemed to go off. Have you heard anything from authorities in the way of a timeline? Were evacuation orders issued? Was that warning system supposed to go off?
Every indication so far is the warning system did not go off at all, that people were self-evacuating, but we are not getting any full answers from officials. There is no official timeline that has been presented. We're not hearing from the electric company, for example. Was there a utility pole that perhaps sparked a fire? We don't know those things. That's very frustrating. All of us are trying to find out more information. We do believe there will be more info in the days to come, but so far we're not learning much more.
Tell us about other supplies on the ground, what people are going through. We've heard about the number of buildings that have been destroyed. What about medical services, hospitals, clinics? Are they still functioning? Can people get medical support or even medicine if they need it?
They are functioning. They can get medical support, although there have been initial reports that perhaps the hospitals on Maui were overwhelmed. That is not quite the case at all. There have actually been few reports of injuries. That's encouraging so far. Hopefully that won't change. What we have heard is a concern about morgue space, a place to store the bodies, a cold place, obviously. But so far, the medical facilities and operations are fully functioning.
Chad, what would you say are the biggest challenges right now? We've heard, of course, some of the fire seems to be mostly contained. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the search and rescue still continues. What are officials up against?
I think the biggest challenge in part is communication. Fiber optic cables were melted. There were at least 29 utility poles down. Here at Civil B, we're using satellite phones to communicate with our teams on the ground. In terms of the officials, the emergency responders, they're using radios. You just can't use a cell phone to get through. So that communication has been part of the challenge, given the terrain as well. There were a lot of roads blocked by cars that were burning. Much of that is being cleared out of the way, but these things continue to be concerns.
It's just imaginable the scale and the suddenness of that loss. We see these pictures and these aerials, and it's hard to imagine how quickly this all unfolded. Chad, for people on the ground there, what is the greatest need? A lot of people are seeing these images and wondering, what can I do? What's your message to them?
There's a lot of folks that are donating to charity. You can go to the Red Cross. You can go to the number of organizations that are bringing food and water and clothing, all sorts of supplies. That aloha spirit that was mentioned earlier is strong, and relief is coming. And if you need to find some place to donate to, go on Google and look for the Maui Fires charity. You'll get plenty of offerings, plenty of suggestions.
I just have to ask. I know it's difficult sometimes for reporters who are covering a story at the same time they are living through it. Tell us what that's been like for your team.
Well, they're just terrific, and I should say Marina Riker is already back on the job, if you can believe that. Brittany Light, another one of our reporters who covers the neighbor islands, is still there.
Growing challenges for President Biden, peril for Donald Trump.
Covers the neighbor islands is still there on the ground. Several of our other photographers and reporters have since returned to our offices in Oahu, but they're still there and they're still working to get the story out.
And we are so grateful to all of them and to you, Chad Blair of Honolulu Civil Beat. We'll be following your reporting, and of course we're keeping everyone down there in our thoughts and prayers.
Thanks for watching and privilege of your time. This is Amir Shakil 5858. I'm a good man. Thank you.